Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, out on another investigation, and this is continuing my explorations in Kent, this little mini series. The gang and I, Nigel Sadler, his son Arun and I, have stopped off here in Newchurch, which is on the Romney Marsh, and we're just going to have a quick look at this rather interesting church. We've been to 3 churches today and all of them incredibly different. This one is the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, which I'm just coming around here. A colossally large church and very different to the other 2 that we saw. This one again built in some form of stone, whether it's local or imported in, which I imagine it must have been imported in, because remember, all round here was connected to ports and the sea, so it's possibly that it was shipped in. I don't know for sure. It's got 2 major aisles and it is a huge church. Just seems to expand forever, and when we go inside you'll see we are looking down towards the south door there, which I can't get in, I have to go in the other side. But I thought to start with I'd just walk around the exterior, as I like to do, through the graveyards here. It was originally founded in the 13th century. There's a history exhibition on the inside which tells us a lot about the church. Here is the south door and the porch that actually is caged off. I imagine it's caged because there might be bats, or it's preventing birds. A little bit of oak leaf here carved on the outside. The place is called Newchurch, and clearly this is the new church that was built on the site of the older church. Now, Newchurch itself as a village is tiny. You drive through it in about less than 45 seconds, I suppose. A few houses here, and then the rest of the bleak Romney Marshes that we've come to know and enjoy, that sort of great flat plain cut off with all these drainage ditches. But just look above and behind me, the huge bell tower, massive colossal church. It's absolutely incredible. And the thing to remember here is the prosperity that started off very small on the Romney Marshes and then grew, and the prosperity grew to a huge extent, and it was one of the most populated parts of England at one point. And then, I can't remember, something like 1827, there was a huge break in the sea defences, and a lot of the land was lost, and as a result of that, what land was left was taken over with arable farming, and you then had a depopulation because people were going up out of the area. But when this was built and extended in the 14th and 15th centuries, and then I think with a bit more, not quite sure, it was at its height of popularity, and so the congregation was huge. Now, of course, it's very small. Here's the north door, great wide north door. So let's go in. It is actually quite stiff to get through the door and out of the wind. And here we go. Now you see on the inside not only how huge it is, but how open it is. Look at these enormous arches which give such space, capacious for that burgeoning congregation that must have been here at that time. We'll come back to the main nave here and look down towards the bell tower with 6 bells in the very top. We can see that from the sallies. And then if I take a little stroll up towards the altar here. In the chancel, go right up, and we see this delightful but very Victorian window. Lovely old organ. I'm going to come into the north aisle here. Again, very spacious. Come around here, and we see what's really delightful when you visit a church is a whole exhibition talking about the owlers and the smugglers. It's got a little bit there about the First World War, and of course the history of the church, the law of the land, a little bit about how the sea was reclaimed, or the land was reclaimed from the sea and what it looked like originally. And then here the furrows and the flocks, talking about the farming in Newchurch and on the Marsh, which is absolutely amazing. And on display, some interesting items here on this table: farming implements, bits of old church. They've all got labels on which can tell you what bits are which. We'll come back through this rood screen here and go down towards the tower. I'm a tower fiend. I like towers, and if it's possible to get up in a tower, you know, if somebody will let me, I love all that, as you know. We'll just come down here. This has got a nice kitchen area as well, just behind me there, which is lovely to see. And clearly, this building, as it ever would have been, is the hub of the community, and that's great to see. Now, there's a rope here, which you're not really supposed to step over, but just for the purposes of filming, I'm going to venture down to the end of this carpet here, no further, in case it is dangerous for any reason, and look up into the bell chamber above. Obviously you can't see, but there is a trap door which presumably would give you access to the bells. And then below we see the sallies hanging there. And judging from the mats on the floor, bell ringing goes on here, which would be a joy to see. And actually there's a little Sally just here hanging up. And actually we've got information about the church bells written on this little plaque here. The Whitechapel Bell Foundry tells us the 5 larger bells were tuned and a treble added to make 6. This peal was hung with new fittings and frames in 1969. So there we are. We've got a 1000 weight, they are dating back to 1637, those bells. Here, locked up access to the tower, which is rather grand. Nigel's here. Hello, Nigel.
Hello. Something I'll point out, point the camera that way, to that corner. If you look at the edge of the stonework, that straight up is that, but this tower leans alarmingly outward. Apparently, reading the blurb, it was built about 200 years after the rest of the main original part of the church.
Yes.
On rather soft ground. And it started to go further and further and further and further out. So it leans at about 10 degrees, something like that. And they stopped. And they left it for 200 years for it to subside roughly. And then they straightened it. So from the outside, apparently, we'll see that the church goes out and then up. So when you're on the tower and you look down, you can't see the wall because it's actually underneath you and behind. So it's the Leaning Tower of Newchurch.
There you go, the Leaning Tower of Newchurch. How fabulous. A font here, which looks pretty Victorian, I think, but very nice. How many babies were baptised in that? Who knows? And the thing that I fell in love with as soon as I came in the church was this hand plough here, which you can see, the ends that you hold onto, the horse is rigged up at the other end. Let's just come round. And Nigel tells me that the handle apparently flips over so that you don't have to turn the plough, but you would reassign the horses on the other end. Not quite sure how that works, but never enough time in these videos to see everything, but you know, I don't intend to do that. It's just a quick exploration. Here's the other end of the door. I was at the south, do you remember, looking through the grille, and here is the south door. So your processions back in the days of the Catholic could come right the way through. So there we are. Anyway, run out of time, but thanks so much for watching. It was just a bit of a quick whistle-stop tour of this enormous church to compare with the other two churches that we've looked on this trip today. So what a comparison, eh? Till next time, take care. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff, and we'll see you on another one. Till then, bye-bye.